You all must have heard about cloud computing, but maybe not aware what that is. So let's find out today what cloud computing is. Before moving on to understand what cloud computing is, let's first see two new terms which will help us to understand that more better. The first is computing. What is computing? The process of utilizing a computer technology to complete any given task is what we call a computing. It must involve some form of computer resource. It can be computer hardware or a software. Just for example, if you're using the spreadsheets, if you're using internet, or if you're working anything on your computer, that's what we call as computing. And the second term to know is virtualization. So in computing, virtualization means to create a virtual version of any resource or device such as server, storage, device, network, or any operating system. With these two terms, computing and virtualization, is how the cloud computing is working. Now, different cloud service providers are having the different definition to define the cloud computing. How AWS or Amazon Web Services defines cloud computing is cloud computing is on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So instead of buying, owning and maintaining a physical data centers and servers, you can access the technology services such as compute power, storage and database as needed basis from the cloud provider. While Azure defines cloud computing is delivery of computing services including server, storage, database, networking, software, analytics, intelligence and more over the internet to offer faster innovation, flexible resources and economies of scale. Although different service cloud providers may have their own different definition, but what National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is NIST, has to say, the cloud model is composed of 5 essential characteristics, 3 service models, and 4 deployment models. The first characteristic is on-demand self-service. All the services or resources should be available on demand and they all should be self-serviced. Broader network access. All the resources, whatever we are using, they should all have a broad, high-speed internet and they should be able to access from anywhere, provided you have the username and password. The third is resource pooling. That means if there are any resources which is added, hardware resources which are added or even software resources which are added into the services, they should be able to share the non-used or empty space with another service so that the optimum use of those resources could be taken. The next is rapid elasticity. In case if user wish to increase or decrease their services, that should be supported rapidly. And last but not least, it should be a measured service, which means the end user should be able to measure the services whatever he is taking. The first in the 3 service model is SaaS, or which is highly known as software as a service. Software as a service or SaaS is the most common type of cloud computing that allows the software to be accessible over the internet. The example includes Google Apps, Dropbox, etc. Next is PaaS, which is platform as a service, and it provides the tools and platform that are available on the internet. For example, AWS Elastic Beanstalk, Windows Azure, Google App Engine, and the last is IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, which offers cloud services, which is again the storage, networking, virtualizations, etc. And the example includes Rackspace, AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Compute Engine. Now let's understand 4 cloud deployment models in comparative fashion. So the first among that is public cloud. As the name suggests, the ownership of the hardware and maintenance is with the cloud service provider and it is a public cloud, which means anyone can access it. We don't need any IT skill set to use the public clouds. The data control, security and privacy also are comparatively low. And this is the cheapest option for the cloud model. The next is the private cloud, where the ownership of the hardware maintenance and keeping of the hardwares up to date is on the corporate house or the one who is maintaining or purchasing the hardwares. It does requires you to be proficient in IT because you need to set up all the security and networking settings That makes data control security and privacy very high for your private cloud, and that makes it expensive as well. The next is community, in which it's in shared ownership of hardware and maintenance that depends on different community how they want to maintain the hardware. It also requires you the proper skill sets to keep the data control security privacy policies in place, so the cost for data control is comparatively high, and the cost is shared between the community members, so that can be a little less than the private, but it will be more than the public. And the last one is hybrid. So as the name suggests, the combination of all the clouds is what we call hybrid. In that, again, we have a shared ownership of hardware. We need to keep up for the maintenance, and we need to have a IT team which will look for the security updates and new features. That also makes the data control and security very high. And as it is a hybrid model, it is cheaper than the private, but the cost can be more than public. So just to understand it again, any company who provides 5 essential characteristics, 3 service models and 4 deployment models is termed as cloud company, and the service provider is called cloud service provider. I hope this has helped you to understand how and what the cloud computing is. If you have any doubts, let me know in comments. Until then, take care.